Vinland Saga is over. That's it. It's done. Over, finito, finished. Nah, psych. I'm just playing. I mean, at least it should be because honestly, I don't see what else more they can add to the show. It's literally already a masterpiece. We're only 2 seasons in with only a 24th episode slated to come out on Monday by the time of this recording. And I just don't see what else they can add to top off this already amazing anime production. A lot of people hated on the second season because of its pivot and how slow it was and the reduction in action, but I'm here to tell you the second season was actually a lot better, and I'm here to preach to you an overarching lesson. Now, I'm not a life guru or anything like that, but the lesson that I learned from Vinland Saga is something that I want to impart to you all today. So here it goes. I hope you like it. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and watch to the end because we're really going very deep on this one. What it means to be a true man. That's a very important and relevant question in our times today. And season 2 has done the best job, I believe, of highlighting this while also answering this question subliminally. In order to answer this question, we're going to have to look at 5 different characters and see what their definition of a man is and see how either they fall short or how they overachieve in this instance. These 5 characters will be Thorfinn and Canute, as well as the Ketil family of Ketil and his 2 sons, Thorgil and Omar. Let's start with Ketil, the father. He's the owner of a large plot of land, probably the largest in the Danelands at this time. He employs many, and he's an honest man. He works for his income, and he's built from the ground up a very large farm and a very large sum of wealth. At first glance, he seems to be very kind-hearted and a man who hates violence and is very just. He treats all his slaves very well, as well as all his workers. However, as the show progresses and we are allowed more character development, we start to understand that Ketil actually isn't as honest as he seems and as just as he seems. Hidden under all of those traits is a coward. Without going too in depth into the story, there are 2 instances where Ketil shows his true colors, and a character that we once may have enjoyed actually becomes someone that we hate and are rooting against. After King Canute threatens to take Ketil's land, he returns home terrified and afraid of the impending war that's to follow. However, after hearing of the ruckus on the farm, Ketil is distraught to hear that Arnheid, his mistress, was about to run away with her former husband Gardar. This sends Ketil into a frenzy and a rage after Arnheid does not deny but confirms that this is true. Ketil felt Arnheid was the only one he could trust, and this loss of trust is ultimately what forces him to snap. He beats Arnheid within an inch of her life while she's carrying his own child, and also forces the farmhands and his guards, who are nowhere capable of fighting a war, into fighting a war that we all know they cannot win. This shows that although Ketil was a man of great stature and wealth, he is not a true man because he is not capable of thinking of others. He only thinks of himself, and when things get tough, he makes the wrong decisions. Our next character of interest is Thorgil, the son of Ketil. Thorgil is a great Thane in the Danish army when we were first introduced to him. He's been on many battles and seen a lot of war, but he boasts and brags of his feats and attributes. The viewer is fortunate enough to see Thorgil fight firsthand, and let me say, he is a force to be reckoned with. In the war against Canute's army, Thorgil does most of the planning and preparations for the war, as well as most of the fighting, actually. Thorgil can be so brutish and violent that even Ketil, who is a coward as we all know now, has stated that he doesn't even know who Thorgil is sometimes, like that he doesn't even feel like his son because of how violent he can be at times. Ultimately, after the Ketil forces lose and Thorgil has seen that Canute's army has withdrawn, he is distraught and angry at the fact that the fight is not over yet. The army has left. And this here highlights Thorgil's fatal flaw. He doesn't know when to accept defeat, and he doesn't know when the battle is over. A true man always knows when the battle is over and when the battle is won. Even after sustaining an injury to his hand, as well as losing most of his forces, he was still ready to tackle a monster much bigger than he is. Omar is the second son and the youngest in the Ketil family. We're introduced to Omar at the tender age of about 18 or 17 years old. He's known as young master on the farm, and he's very arrogant and prideful. He wants to be just like his big brother the Thane and his father, Iron Fist Ketil. No one on the farm besides Snake, Ketil's head guard, knows that the Iron Fist moniker is actually a fake name stolen by Ketil. He's never even been to war, and he's never earned the name, something as powerful and brave as Iron Fist. Omar yearned for battle so much, so badly, that one day, while visiting the Danish capital of Jelling or Jelling, He embarrasses himself so badly in front of the king that he ultimately ends up in a death match for his honor. Without getting into too many details, this is what sparks the war between Canut's forces and Keto's forces. However, after Omar experiencing his first kill, we see a change in the young character, a change for the better. He renounces his dream of making his way in the world with his sword and just hopes for peace and a life away from war. He actually misses his life as a young master and wishes he had taken it more seriously and not for granted. After the battle, Keto is injured and unable to speak for the family as far as negotiating peace in terms of war. Omar was named as the true heir over Thorgil. I'm not sure why, maybe because Thorgil is a warrior, but Omar was named as true heir, and he's given the decision of whether they choose to surrender or continue fighting. And Omar, in his wiseness and better understanding of life, chooses to surrender because he understands that this is a battle that they cannot win. It may seem like cowardice, but it's actually wisdom. At this point, Omar's grandfather Sferkel has acknowledged that Omar has finally become a true man. To add to this, even in episode 23, Omar tells Thorfinn directly that he wishes he could be a true man just like him. And that perfectly segues us into our last two characters of Thorfinn and Canute. We can put them together because their stories intertwine and commingle wonderfully. Canute started off as a young, pious Christian king who wished only for peace and to lead his people into paradise and to bring heaven to earth. However, after receiving the crown, he denounced many of his Christian beliefs and understood that the only way to fight fire was with fire, and the only way to fight war was with war. He poisoned his older brother for absolute power, and he also was prepared to do anything it took to get all of Danish country and England under his control. At this point, Canute was drunk with power and spiraling out of control down a deep, dark hole of despair and darkness. The only person, the only man capable of defeating Canute was, you guessed it, Thorfinn. And he didn't defeat him in the conventional way, not with swords or arrows or crossbows or knives. No, he defeated him with his words. At this point in time, Thorfinn and Canute have switched ideologies. Thorfinn, who believed in only revenge and vengeance and blood and killing, is now much more gentle and humbler, and as Prince Canute would describe him, much more eloquent. Thorfinn reminds Canute of his former dream and tells him that there's always another way, and if he doesn't agree to what Thorfinn is proposing, that he'd run and continue running until he finds a safe place from all the war and slavery. Canute finds his resolve comical, yet very interesting, and it persuades him to leave the farm, the place that we all thought was inevitably doomed to be taken over. In order to even be able to have counsel with the king, Thorfinn needed to endure 100 hits from one of Canute's biggest men, Drought. This was a test to see if he could gain the respect enough to be in the presence of King Canute. This, I would say, is probably the biggest instance of Thorfinn's manliness. His resolve is unmatched. Even in the face of adversity, he continues pushing onward for a goal that he believes in. His belief and convictions are almost unrealistic at this point. However, as a man, he's ready to die by them. And this is what it means to truly be a man. I hope this video brought some value to you guys, and if it did, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and share with a friend. Definitely helps the algorithm so much. This is it for today, guys. Remember to, as always, find your zen, your final form. I'll see you next time, guys.
Pulling back like karma, Benny Hanna, Gucci with the Prada. What I say goes, so we ride Dolce and Gabbana. And I change clothes like my hoes, I love designer. And I change my flows like who knows, I want the commas.